Continuing the Chapter 6 review, Section 6.4, doing problems 27 through 29 on page 324. The directions for 27 and 28 say, determine whether the set of numbers in each table is proportional and explain. And so you have a table here of boxes and pens. And it says one box was 8 pens, 2 boxes was 16 pens, 3 boxes was 24 pens, and 4 boxes was 32 pens. Okay, so it wants to know if this is proportional. Well, the first one says you've got 1 box for 8 pens. Okay, the second one says 2 boxes for 16 pens. Okay, 2 ways you can do this. You could reduce this to be 1 box over 8 pens, which is equal to the original. Or you could ask yourself, are these 2 equal to each other? They're equal to each other if their cross product is the same. 1 times 16 is 16, 8 times 2 is 16. So that works. Then what about 3 boxes for 24 pens? Well, is 3 over 24 the same as 1 over 8? Well, 24 times 1 is 24, 3 times 8 is 24. So yes. And lastly, is 4 boxes to 32 pens equal to 1 over 8? 4 times 8 is 32, 32 times 1 is 32. So, yes, this is proportional because each is equivalent to 1 box to 8 pens. Since each one of those reduces to the same ratio, they are proportional. Okay? For number 28, same question. Is this set of numbers proportional? Okay? And you've got number of people and the brownies they ate. So number of people to the number of brownies that they ate. Okay? And it says 2 people ate 2 brownies, 4 people had 5 brownies, 6 people had 7 brownies, and 8 people had 10. So the first one is 2 people for 2 brownies. The second one is 4 people to 5 brownies. Well, you can see just from there, these are not equal to each other. Because if you cross multiply, 2 times 5 is 10, 2 times 4 is 8. 10 does not equal to 8, so these are not the same proportion. Not proportional. And the reason they're not proportional is 2 people to 2 brownies is 1 person per brownie. 4 people for 4 brownies is not 1 person per brownie, so they do not represent the same ratio. Lastly, in this section, number 29 says, a customer at the ring toss booth gets 8 rings for $2. Write an equation relating the cost to the number of rings. At the same rate, how much would a customer pay for 11 rings or for 20 rings? So, they get 8 rings for $2. So, that is $2 for 8 rings. Okay? Well, that reduces to be $1 for 4 rings. Okay? So, another way to think about that is if you divided both by 4, that would be 25 cents for every ring. That would be the unit rate. So, if C is the cost and R is the number of rings, you'd see that you pay 1/4 for every ring. So the cost would be 25 cents times the number of rings. That would be your equation relating the two. So then, how much would 11 rings cost? Well, there's several ways to work this. One, you could set up a proportion. $2 for 8 rings would be how many for 11 rings? So you could do $2 for 8 rings is how much for 11 rings? To solve that, you would cross multiply. 8 times x is 8x. 2 times 11 is 22. Divide both sides by 8, and you would get x equals $2.75 for 11 rings. Another way is you have a formula here. The cost is 25 cents times the number of rings. So for 11 rings, that means R equals 11. The cost would be 0.25 times 11, which if you do that is $2.75. So either way you want to work that. Lastly says, how much would it cost for 20 rings? Okay, so the cost is 0.25 times the number of rings. So the cost for 20 rings, that's R equals 20, would be 0.25 times 20, which is $5 for 20 rings.